And we're back. What's up, everybody? 2 videos back, we set up Firebase Analytics. The last video, we set up Mixpanel Analytics. This video, we're going to set up Firebase Crashlytics. So Crashlytics is a crash reporting feature, so slightly different purpose than our analytics services, but the usage is very similar, so we're going to put it underneath our log manager as well. Basically, every time your app crashes, you get a crash in the Crashlytics console, and then you can use the crash to debug it. But in addition to just getting the crash log, you can add user profile, user properties, and things like that. So in this video, we're going to set that up, but we're just going to set up the base of Crashlytics first. So again, I've covered this on my YouTube channel. I will post a video link below with full details on the Crashlytics setup. Because I posted it there, I'm going to move a little bit faster as we set it up here. Let's go up to our app, and in the general tab, we can now come down here and let's add in the package for Crashlytics. Firebase Crashlytics, go ahead and click add. I'll also link Firebase's documentation below, which you can read yourself. It says to add Firebase, add the Crashlytics library, take advantage of breadcrumb logs. So because we are using Google Analytics or Firebase Analytics is automatically connected to Crashlytics. So the events from our analytics will automatically log into our Crashlytics service. So we already will have this set up since we're using Google Analytics. The docs say to add the Objective-C flag to the other linker flags in your target's build settings. I think this might be new. I don't remember doing it in past projects. I don't know if we actually need to do it, but since it's in the docs here, let's go ahead and just do this quick. So let's jump into our code base. Let's click our target. Let's go into build settings, and then let's look for other linker flags. And then in our other linker flags, let's just come in here and let's just copy and paste that flag, and I will paste it in here. It should go to all of these. I guess there's some Objective-C in Crashlytics and it needs this flag. I don't think it's going to hurt us by adding it, even if we didn't need it. So let's just leave that in there. Let's go back to the Firebase docs. Import Firebase, configure Firebase. We've already done that. Set up Xcode to automatically upload DSIM files. This is an important part. Let's go to our targets, click build settings, and then click all. Let's go to our target, build settings, click all. Click the all tab up here. Debug information format, debug information format, and then change all of them to dwarf with DSIM file. So we got up here, dwarf with DSIM file should apply to all of them now. All 3 configurations. Remember, we set up debug, mock, and release configurations. They'll all have DSIMs now. DSIMs are basically the files that actually have the crash logs that are going to get uploaded to Crashlytics. Go to the build phases tab and add a new run script phase. So now we're going to go to the build phases tab. And remember, we already set up a run script for our SwiftLint. So every time we run the code base, SwiftLint runs. We're going to add another script. So every time we run it, Crashlytics runs. The key here, though, is that Crashlytics must be the last script. So you can move these scripts around. Crashlytics needs to be the bottom one. So we'll click plus here and add a new run script phase. In the script field, go ahead and copy this. I will copy this into our code base and I will paste it in the script. Make this full screen. In the input section, copy all of these. So let's copy the first one. In the input files, I will click plus and paste this in. That's the first one. Let's do the second one, third one, fourth one, and the 5th one. All right, and then it says force a test crash to finish setup. Now, just to look at our script real quick, it is taking our build and then running the Crashlytics script. And you can see down here, there's some information about the Google service-info.plist. So the way this is set up, the default script is for the default info plist setup. If you remember at the beginning of the course, we had one info.plist and it was like out at the bottom down here. And then we moved our info plist into this folder. And now we have two different info.plists. So we actually need to now update this script to update which info.plist this script is supposed to be uploading for. So I'm going to paste the code below so that you guys don't have to do it. It was quite frustrating the first time that I had to find this script, but I will just copy that and just paste it here, and it should look like this. I'll walk through this quickly. I did use a little bit of ChatGPT to make sure that this was working. So what we're doing is basically an if statement here. If our build configuration is the debug. Let's remember that when we created our build configurations at the beginning, in our course info here, we have 3 build configurations: debug, mock, and release. Mock is for our mock, debug is our dev build, and release is our prod build. And so because we have these 3, I added an if statement into the script. If it is the debug, meaning our dev build, then the Google info.plist will be set to our project directory, meaning this is our directory up here. AI chat course is the name. So whatever you named your project will be here. And then I have within the project directory is the Google service plists folder. Within that is the Google service info-dev file, and it's .plist. elif is else if. Configuration is the mock. Then we're not going to run Crashlytics. So if we're just building our mock scheme, I know that that is going to crash a lot as I build it, because most of the time I'm going to be on my mock, and my mock's going to have like the stupid crashes for like the SwiftUI environment not working and things like that. So while we're building stuff in our mock build, we're just going to skip Crashlytics. We have an echo here. Echo is like a print, which we will see when it actually runs. Exit is like a return statement. Exit 0 to get out of this, to not execute the rest of this function. Else if we're running the prod build, use the prod info.plist. Else, so if it's not the debug, the mock, or the release, that would be a case where we added a 4th configuration into the code base and we forgot to update this. We'll have a printout that says no matching configuration. And then finally, if we get through this, so if we don't exit and we get to the bottom, it's going to take the info.plist and run the script and upload the DSIMs to Firebase. So again, this should be below. You guys should be able to just copy and paste it and change your app name here if you named your app something else. Cool. Let's now go and build and see if this works. I'm going to Command-Shift-K to clean it. I'm going to jump into our app view where we have all of our analytics. And I will Option-Command-Enter to get the canvas working here. And we're just going to force a crash. So the docs literally said just force a crash to finish the setup to make sure that it's working. So that's what we're going to do now. I will put the mock, I'll switch to the mock build for the preview quick. All right, I got the preview working. Actually, I'm getting a warning. The run script build phase run script will run every build because it does not specify any outputs. To address this issue, either add output dependencies to the script phase or configure it to run every build by unchecking based on dependency analysis. Let's go ahead and do that quick. Jump back into our script, and down here in the run script, let's just uncheck based on dependency analysis so that it runs every single build. All right, let's jump into our Explore view. In our Explore view, we should have some functions here let's come down to the bottom. On avatar pressed, when we click on an avatar, let's just fake a crash. So we'll say var my string of type optional string equals nil. And then I'll say let do something of type string equals my string, and we'll just force unwrap it, because force unwrapping and optional should crash our app. So every time we click on an avatar, we should get a crash. Let's go ahead and switch to our development build, because remember the script is not going to run for the mock build. So in the development build, we should now be able to build to a simulator. And then when I click on an avatar, it should actually crash. In the Firebase docs, there is a little section here on after you crash, the Xcode debugger prevents crash reports from being sent to Crashlytics. So basically, after you crash, stop the build and then restart your app so that it runs without the debugger. And this will force the crash to actually upload. So let's just do it a couple times here. In our app, if I click on an avatar, so click on this one, I should get a crash. Cool. That looks like it crashed. I'm going to stop the app. I'm going to open up our app again. And I am noticing that in my build, somehow the display name got set back to AI chat. It should be AI chat-dev. Don't know why that happened. Okay, while we're here, let's jump into our project settings, our target, build settings, display name, and I don't know why that got reset. If I look at our bundle ID, those did not get reset. So somehow our display name got reset. I don't know how that happened. Okay, weird. Let's just change this back to dev and this one back to mock. Maybe it was when we changed some of the other settings and this got overwritten. Strange behavior. Let's go ahead and Command R and hopefully the name now pushes up. There we go. All right. So here we go. Let's crash the app. I'll click stop. Now I see my AI chat dev. I'll click it open again. Let's click and crash the app. Let's come in here. Let's click and crash the app. Let's come in here. I'm going to leave the app open for a couple seconds this time. This way, make sure the script hopefully uploads to Firebase. I'll click and crash the app again. And now that we did it a couple times, let's jump into the Crashlytics. So in Firebase now, there is a Crashlytics tab. So in the Crashlytics tab, you'll find two different bundle IDs, one for our dev, one for our prod. So all of our crashes are obviously in the dev version. I can see here. I don't like that I can't tell what the name is right here. This is because it's the same bundle ID. Let's go ahead and update the names for these so that this looks a little more convenient. I'll jump into the project settings just in Firebase. And then down here for the, let's see, which one is which? This is the dev. Let's do AI chat dev. And for the other one, I will just do AI chat. Save. If I jump back into Crashlytics now, I think that, here we go, AI chat dev and AI chat. That looks a little bit better. And if I come down here, I can see that our script is definitely working. Super convenient. So you can see our script is working because this is human readable. So if we didn't have that script, it wouldn't have uploaded the DSIM logs, and this crash report would have looked like a bunch of gibberish. But because it uploaded, we can see this crash happened on the Explore view in the avatar on avatar pressed function. And if I click on it, I can literally see the exact line of code. This crash happened in the on avatar pressed line 219. So I can come in here, and I can look, the crash is on literally in this file on line 219. It's exactly where I need to debug, which is amazing. So convenient. From Crashlytics, you can download the whole stack trace. You can look at the actual TXT file, but generally the overview is pointing you directly in the right direction. If we switch to the logs and breadcrumbs, we will see that some of our other events are showing up here because Firebase Analytics is set up and that's connected to our crash. So this comes really convenient when you have crashes in your app and like you can see the events that happened right before the crash. So that'll give you a little bit of context. All right. We don't have our data set up yet and we don't have our keys set up yet. We're going to do that now. So data and keys are just like our user profile, our user properties, and all of our analytics services. These keys come from the crash, but we can add in our custom keys as well. So I'm glad this is working. Let's jump back into the code base now and actually set up our service. So what I'm going to do is let's get rid of this crash. So we're back to our app actually working. I'll go full screen here and we are going to create another service. Right click, new file, Firebase Crashlytics service. In here, we will import Firebase Crashlytics, and then we'll create a struct called Firebase Crashlytics service that conforms to log service. Let's go ahead and conform to it. And we actually don't need to do too much in here, but we'll run through this pretty quickly. Identify user, so we can add a user ID. Let's call crashlytics.crashlytics.set user ID. We'll set it to the user ID. And we'll do an if let name. And I can actually go into the Firebase Analytics and we already have the same code here. And I'll just paste it here. Except this one will be crashlytics.crashlytics.setCustomValue. And then the value will be the name for the account name. I'll copy and paste that. And we'll do the email for the account email. Beautiful. In the add user properties, Firebase Crashlytics only allows up to 64 key value pairs. So we're only going to do the ones that are high priority. So we'll say guard is high priority, else return. And then let's go for key value in the dictionary. Let's call crashlytics.crashlytics, set custom value. And this accepts any. So I think we can just pass in any. If it yells at us, we'll fix this later and do some validation on the types, but we'll pass in the value for the key. I don't think that there's restrictions on the keys. There might be, but we can always fix this later. Not a major problem. There is no delete user profile, but what we can do is actually just change the user ID, and we'll just put new here. So if the user ID changes, then the user profile for the crashing will go to a different profile, and that'll work for our cases. Lastly, we have our track event function. Now, the track event function, we don't need to track most of the events because as we already saw the breadcrumbs, Firebase Analytics is automatically going to push all of the events into Crashlytics. So we basically don't really need to do anything here. But Crashlytics does have another feature, which is logging non-fatal crashes. So in addition to the actual crashes that our app is having in the Firebase dashboard, there's also non-fatal crashes. So we can get this similar type of reporting where we can see how many times something happens and how many people it's affecting for non-fatal crashes as well. And so if you remember when we set up our loggable event, we created a enum called log type. And in the log type, we add a severe, which are issues or errors that negatively affect user experience. So what we're going to do is just log all of our severe analytics as non-fatal crashes in our app. This way, if something severe is happening a lot in production, we're going to immediately get that in the Firebase Crashlytics console. And we'll be able to tell exactly how often that is happening in our app. So let's come back to our track event and let's switch on the event.type. For the info, the analytic, and the warning, we're not going to do anything. So let's just break. Again, all of the analytics that are going to Firebase Analytics will automatically get logged. For the severe, let's call crashlytics.crashlytics.record, and we're going to record an error with user info. Now we need an error. So the problem is now that our event is not actually a Swift error. It's just a loggable event. So we're going to create an error in code here. We'll say let error equals ns error. And we're going to look for the domain code and user info. And I will triple click Control M. This is just making a fake error. So we're going to know in Crashlytics that this is not a real NS error, but we're going to have some information that will be able to still pinpoint where it's coming from. So the domain, we're going to call this our event.event name. For the code, we don't have a code right now. So right now, let's just put 0. And then for the user info, we're going to use the event.parameters. Now we're going to take our error, pass it here, and then our user info, we're going to pass in our event parameters as well. The last thing I want to do here is actually add in a code. Now I want this code to be unique to the event name. So we're going to basically convert the event name into a hash value. I used ChatGPT and I asked it to try to create a stable hash value from this string. And I will paste the code below again for you guys to use. Otherwise you can just copy it. So it's basically just this code here. We're going to create a stable hash value from a string. So it's going to take the string, map all of the characters essentially into an array, then reduce the array with some sort of bitwise logic that I don't really understand. But I've used this before in Crashlytics and it works. So let's just run with it. And even if it doesn't work, honestly, it's not the end of the world. We can always tweak this later. Event.eventName.stable hash value we're going to put here. For the track screen event, we'll just call track event, pass in our event. Just like that, we are set up to rock and roll with Firebase Crashlytics as well. Let's jump into our dependencies file and let's add it into our dev build. I'll triple click on this, Control M. Let's put these on separate lines here. And then we're going to have a Firebase Crashlytics service. I'll do the same thing down here. Again, notice that we're not using Crashlytics in our mock build. We just don't need it. We don't need Firebase running here at all. Cool, so now we should be able to use this. Let's jump into our app view. We have all these fake properties, and I think we already made one of these a severe type. Delta is a severe. So let's build and run this now. We're adding user properties, we're identifying the user, and we have a severe type coming through. So I think this is basically, we literally didn't have to change any of our code, and we're already going to start pushing all this data into Firebase Crashlytics. So let's come in here. Let's go ahead and just click around a couple times. We don't need to crash the app, but I think just executing these is going to send that data to Crashlytics. Let's go ahead and close the app. And it looks like it's working. Let's click around here. Let's stop the simulator. Let's open it up again. Let's force close. Let's open it up again. I'll leave it open for a second. Hopefully it uploads to Crashlytics. I can even come in here and put a breakpoint on the Crashlytics and build and run. And hopefully this will confirm that this code is at least running. Cool, the breakpoint got caught. Clearly it's working. I will also show you guys that when we build and run it through the simulator, if we come up here and we click on the report navigator on the top left here, I can come here and I can click on the build tab. And then in here, we actually get logs. So remember the scripts that we just wrote for the linting and then for Crashlytics? Those, when we echo those, they actually print out here. So we can see here that the lint script is running for all of the, we can see here that where is it? Custom shell script run script here. This is all of our linting script is running. It's executing. And then here, the second shell script running upload symbols to build phase, validating for Crashlytics, validation succeeded. So if we had those problems in our script and we echoed and printed those out, you would get those in this view here. So this would be like a warning or an error, and it would have whatever that printed out here. But because it's successful, we can see here that it's successfully uploaded. I will stop this build. So to Firebase, and sometimes this takes a couple minutes to actually upload. So you might have to like restart your app a couple times, wait 5 minutes, but eventually you should get in our code base here, our new error. So we have a non-fatal error. So we can filter by fatal versus non-fatal errors. And then we can see that the event is the event delta, which is what triggered our non-fatal error. Let's go ahead and click on it. So I don't really care that this happened in the log manager. That's obviously because that's where we made the error. But the event name here is going to be telling on what this error is. So the event name being event_delta. This is our stable hash value. It doesn't really matter, but it's going to be unique to the string. So at least we'll be able to tell event delta is happening a bunch of times in the app. And if we look here, just to show you guys our keys, we now have our uploaded values for the email and the account name. We also have all of our Firebase analytics in here. And in our data, we should now be able to see the user ID as well, which was our fake user ID, ABC123. But this is all exactly what we wanted. So now we can log non-fatal errors to here. And this is incredibly helpful once your app gets running, because in addition to actual crashes, you can see non-fatal crashes. And now we can see at a high level exactly how often these things are happening in our app. Cool. That's all for this video. And we are now set up with all of our services for the log manager. In the next couple of videos, we're actually going to go through and start actually adding analytics and user properties now that we can send all that data to all these services. Let's end this with the Option Command C. Let's call this a feature and we'll say add Crashlytics. Let's stage it. Let's commit it. Push it up to GitHub, and I'll see y'all in the next video.